Hello, friends. Yogananda told a story once of an encounter that he had riding on the train. This was back in the 1930s, and when he traveled around the country, which he did quite a bit in the 20s and 30s, he traveled by train. In fact, pretty much through his life, he traveled either by train or by car or by boat. As far as I know, never flew in an airplane, even though they were starting to become popular by the end of his life. But anyway, on this long train ride, there was a man looking at him, giving him a sort of dirty look, an unpleasant look, as if the man disapproved of him. And since the seats were facing each other, Yogananda sort of had to deal with the fact that this guy was looking at him in an unpleasant way. And so he finally confronted the man and said, "Why are you looking at me like that?" And the man said, "It's none of your business." Very just curtly. And Yogananda said, "It is my business. I have to look at you, and you're looking at me with this nasty expression on your face." So they started talking. And come to find out that this was a famous movie actor. And he evidently was unfamiliar with Indian swamis, or probably Indians in general, and seeing them in America made him uncomfortable, whatever. Anyway, they got to having a discussion. And one of the things that Yogananda said to him is the title of this video, and it's extremely helpful for us to appreciate and to do something with it, and I'll suggest the something later on. Yogananda said to him, "Look, we're all of us a little bit crazy. But the trouble is that we tend to we tend to stick with people who reinforce our own particular craziness. We tend to hang out with people who are crazy like we're crazy, not crazy in different ways, in other kinds of ways. And so how are we to..." So he went on to say that he gave this man a challenge, and he said, "All right, if I can convince you that my way of life, my particular kind of craziness, is better than your kind of craziness, then I will ask you to follow me, to tune into what I do. And if not, if you win, if you can tell me that your kind of craziness is better than my kind of craziness, then I will follow you." And so they had this discussion, and the man had to admit that Yogananda's way of approach was better. And Yogananda said in the talk, he said, "And I was spared from having to become a movie actor because I won this particular discussion." And the man did actually become a student of yoga and meditation. How seriously, I don't know. I don't think he actually lived that much longer after this encounter. But anyway, I have to think that it was a pivotal encounter in his life, even though he was a famous actor and so forth. So, given that we are all of us a little bit crazy, and that we tend to stick with our own kind of craziness in other people, when do we ever find a different kind of craziness? Where do we ever encounter someone who's crazy in a different way? Well, we have to look for it. Or we have to do the exercise, and this is what I was going to suggest. We have to do the exercise of looking at someone. So I'm going to name off some terms here. These are loaded terms. So know that going in. Know also going in that I am not advocating for any particular one of these. I'm just going to name them off. And if your pulse starts to rise or your blood pressure starts to go up, take a deep breath, relax. This is not designed to be scary. It's just designed to be an exercise. Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, vaxxer, vaccine supporter, anti-vaccine, advocate, person of color, white person, rich person, economically challenged person. I could go on and on and on, different nationalities, etc., etc. My point in saying those terms is, again, not to advocate for any particular one of them or group of them, but rather to say, if you find yourself subscribing to the perspective of one or another of those, try to see through the eyes of someone who looks at a different way, who might be on the opposite side of one of those, because often these things are opposite to each other. Although, since there are endless shades of perspective, it's not just liberal or conservative, for example, or just Democrat or Republican. I mean, our voting system tends to sort of try to shunt us into one or the other. But often we will find that we're a mixture of several. But my point is, try to see the world through someone else's eyes, and even imagine yourself taking up that point of view. Not that you should or you will, but just try to imagine it so that it actually takes on a certain reality. Why does that person think the way they do? Why does that perspective view the world that they do, the way they do? And what you'll find is that there is a kind of intrinsic validity to every point of view. Doesn't mean that you have to subscribe to it. You can't subscribe to all of them at once. But it's just helpful once in a while to mix with, to be with someone who's crazy in a different way than you, and try to absorb the energy of it and assimilate it and go beyond both. Go beyond all kinds of craziness. To realize that this whole world is crazy. This whole world is a big drama. It's a big show. It's a wild, wild scene. And our job is to enjoy it and learn from it, and not to get all attached and caught up in it, because all of those things that can make us crazy are really just there to teach us something and to entertain us. So let's do both of those things. Let's learn and let's be entertained. Namaste.